Another one of Mostly Superheroes, indie podcast, St. Louis, Missouri, back in the basement, 200 plus episodes, 50 plus countries, and the stars and the guests are getting more fun and more fun. This one is one that I'm going to fan out about, a St. Louis legend to me, but originally from New York, 40 years of broadcast experience, 30 years on Fox 2, where I was watching most of my life, an outdoors lover, and now a podcaster. Are you kidding me? More to say. Welcome to the studio, Randi Naughton.
Logan, you are so darn sweet. I think that's adorable, and I thank you. Thank you for the invite. This is going to be fun.
Yes, thank you for coming. I can't believe you answered my message. You said, let's do this thing.
Heck yes. What else I got to do? I ain't got no job.
Yeah, a couple years. Is it a couple years retired now?
Yeah, about 2 years in July. July 22nd, I retired from the TV broadcast news. And I was driving to work one night in the middle of the freaking night, as I did for 20-something years on the morning show, because I did sports prior to that. And I was driving, and I'm like, okay, I started at Fox 2, KTVI, and went 1992, and I'm terrible at math. Do not even ask me to do a checkbook. And then I'm like, holy hot dog, that's 30 years. I'm like, I've been there 30 years. And my husband, who had been retired for a number of years prior to that, he worked at MasterCard in O'Fallon for 29 years. He kept going, we're good. I figured it out. You can retire. And I'm like, no, I kind of like working. And I really do. I love to work. You know, the wake up call at 1:30 in the morning sucked. and I still wake up at that time sometimes in the middle of the night. But then I just said, 30 years, I think that's good. I think I'm good. You know, and everyone's going, are they throwing you out because you're older? And I'm like, no, there was no contract dispute. No anything. The ratings were still great in the morning with myself and John Pertzborn, and it was just time for me to kind of go figure it out. Which after 2 years of not going to work, it took me a bit. I'm just now starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
That it's okay not to be busy. You can sit your butt down and look at a magazine. You can do nothing. You can watch a ball game in the middle of the day, which I do. So I'm still having trouble with it, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you on a fantastic career.
Thank
and
you.
I can't wait to get into your podcast because I've been listening to it a lot. And you've got so many good guests, but I got to focus on Fox for a minute.
Yes.
I mean, me and Carrie were heartbroken when you retired. You and John were just up there doing the thing for us every morning. And
yeah.
They got a great crew there, Ty and Blair, and all of them
you
are
know
just
them
friends.
all.
Oh, absolutely. Chris Higgins, the extreme weather specialist. I mean, I love that title. I've always
Let me tell you, he is one of the smartest guys in weather in this city.
Yeah.
And as far as, and not only with his knowledge, with what he visualizes, he makes all these amazing graphics and charts. He does all that out of his own brain. I'm like, all right, too sciencey for me. I love science, but that's on you, brother.
And it's a good team, too.
Yeah.
Angela Huddy over there.
Yeah.
Glenn Zimmerman.
They're all great. I miss them all like crazy.
You watching the news?
I watch the news in the morning, and honestly, Pertzborn and I text pretty much 3-4 times a week. Like, we send each other goofy videos, and John and I are close as close can be, and I love him like a brother. And, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this, or just goofy stuff. Like, I sent him goofy songs from the 60s, or I sent him a few dances yesterday. It's just goofball stuff, which I think is what helped keep us going.
Yeah, you seems like, I just want to be sitting there hanging out with you guys when you would just be throwing it back and forth. And then your fun times with Tim, the funny videos and all everything that he does is hilarious and fun. But you guys had some specific skits you would do over
the fartist. Did you see the fartist?
Yes, of course. It wasn't that the black and white.
It was black and white, and I won a Fox 2 Oscar for that. The fartist. If you've not seen it, look it up. The fartist.
They need to. I feel like a little rebrand, stealing from the show The Office. They had the Dundies. They could call it the Foxy.
Oh, nice.
How about that? That was a freebie.
I don't know if Timmy does that every year yet. I don't know.
Well, yes, Fox 2, great career, and yeah, it all led to that retirement and the big look back at all those fun times and transitioning out of retirement. I heard your very first pilot episode of More to Say.
More to Say with Randi Naughton. And that was the thing first, the big challenge for my podcast. First, my daughter's like, Mom, because I don't care how old your children are, they will still tell you like it is. That outfit looks stupid on you. What did you do with your hair? I mean, whatever. She's like, Mom, you're late to the podcast scene. What are you doing? What are you trying to do? I go, I don't know. I like to talk to people. I like to do interviews. And then when we were on TV, we'd have a guest to come in and talk about an event or a star in town. And literally because of sponsorships and commercial breaks, you had 3 minutes to get everything in. So I wanted a more long form conversation. And then the question was, well, so what is my podcast about? Which is a very first question people ask. I go, it's about everything. It's not about true crime or self-help or any. I go, if you're an interesting person and you have something interesting to talk about, that's what it's about. So my guests have run the gamut of, Bob Costas, who is the Mac Daddy of sports broadcasting. I mean, you see some of the people, Alan Hunter from MTV, Jennifer Lewis, St. Louis actor.
That Jennifer Lewis episode, that was fantastic.
Oh my gosh. It was one of the most heart-wrenching stories I've ever heard. And, she's a legend. Leo Norbert Butts, who is an actor from St. Louis, who has won numerous Tony Awards on Broadway. And during our conversation, if you didn't listen to that one yet, first of all, the nicest guy, St. Louisan.
On the list.
Yes. Secondly, he is going to be playing Bill Belichick in an upcoming movie about Aaron Hernandez from the Patriots.
Wow.
And I'm like, you're playing. I said, that's fighting words in St. Louis. I think I might have pissed him off a little bit, but I think I recovered okay. But that was a great episode where I talked to Phyllis Smith from The Office. She's coming up in next week.
Oh my gosh.
Dropping next week. And another one is going to be a local lady whose name is Michelle Smallman. She is a sports broadcaster. So she said she grew up watching me do sports, and she's now at ESPN. And we sort of talk about female sports broadcasters and how still to this freaking day, some of the crap they got to put up with. So we had a really nice conversation, and she predicted who she thinks is going to be the NFL MVP.
Very nice.
Without one snap of the ball. I'm like, okay, we'll see if that comes out.
Big prediction.
Yes, indeed.
Well, more to say with Randi Naughton. I'll tell you this: your kids don't need to be dream killers. It made total sense to me.
Thank you.
You have a fan base. Here's what I'll say. I agree. There are too many people making podcasts that just want to just make it on the side. They think it's going to be super easy. You were built for podcasting. You're right. Those interviews that I watched you do on the news for many years, you're such a professional. You've been doing this such a long time. You have such comfort level with talking with really anyone. That is podcasting. An interview podcast between a great guest and someone that knows what they're doing. That's what they're getting with Randi Naughton in my head. So you're going to be just fine. Just keep going, and it'll be great. I'm already enjoying the show. I actually have listened. So
I think I have 19 episodes. We've been going for 6 months, and I release a new episode every other week, and my goal is to get to every week because you need that continuity and you need that. But, I'm, at TV, when I worked at TV, I had a promotions team, I had a web team, I had producers, I had editors. Now I'm doing it all.
Yes.
I'm booking, I'm producing, I'm hosting, I'm editing, I'm doing it all, which I don't mind learning all this because I really enjoy it. And as I age, it helps keep my brain sharper, things like that. But I hope to land even bigger fish and make even bigger noise. Bob Costas, if you have not heard the episode, and since I did that episode with him, I think earlier in the year, he's come out with some pretty strong statements, and he made a few of them on the air with me.
There you go.
So it's whoa. We were going over time, and I'm like, I'm just shutting up. When Bob Costas wants to yap, you let him yap, and that's what I did.
Yep, and I know that it can be overwhelming too with all the things we have to do with podcasting.
Yeah.
However, you have complete freedom. It's your show.
Yes.
And that's the big difference, I'm sure, from everything you've experienced in your career, just, working with any organization and then working on your own as an independent, just very different. So enjoy that freedom.
And the one thing I will not, and I have not, and I've never done it in my career, is, go towards the opinion/politics. It's there are so many people doing that on radio, on podcasts. And then, to me, it polarizes a lot of people who won't listen to you because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, and most importantly, nobody gives a rip what I think. And it's not going to change a thing about anybody's opinion. So I stay away from it. I always do. And I think on TV and on radio and everywhere I've worked, I pride myself. I get emails. You're a liberal. You're a conservative. You're a Nazi. You're a fascist. You're a this. You're a that. They called me everything under the sun, which was perfect because I did not present myself any way or the other.
Right.
So I try to make myself stay in the middle.
Yeah, toe the line.
So people don't know where I'm coming from politically, religiously, moral, any of that business. So that's one thing I'm pretty proud of in my career.
Well, very, very good. I would say that's the line we have to toe as interviewers, is trying to be the unbiased person in the room.
Right.
But I also think it's okay to give your opinion when you preface with, I'm going to give my opinion.
Yeah,
It's like, this is a opinion segment. Now I'm asking questions. And we always try to say, like, we talk to the whole world. We have a lot of listeners in St. Louis, but we just don't assume anything. We don't assume you know anything about that topic. We try to say, this is what we know about it. This is maybe what we think about it, but it's mostly trying to get the facts out and just talk about it.
Right.
And with your guests, they're interesting people telling some good stories that are really, I think, have been just inspirational. It's been like inspiring. It's not even.
Case in point is Bob Costas. If he wants to get political and if he wants to, who am I to tell him what he can and cannot say?
Sure.
I'm not saying it. It's not coming out of my mouth. You might not like it, but it's like, hey, it was him. Go talk to him. So that's one example, and I think it turned out to be an incredible conversation with Bob Costas, who, long time ago when I was covering sports in St. Louis, we were coming up. Remember the old Clarion Hotel in downtown St. Louis, that old dilapidated round building? Yep. There was some huge sports event down there. I'm going down the long escalator, going to do a live shot at 6 p.m. for sports or something, and Bob Costas was going the up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, Bob Costas. And he looks at me, he goes, "Hi, Randy." I almost fell off the escalator. Bob Costas knew my name. And I'm like, okay. It was fun.
Of course he did. In my mind, like, of course he did.
I don't know. I'm not that way, but I was flattered for sure.
So people can listen to More to Say with Randi Naughton in their podcast app. You're on YouTube.
I'm everywhere.
You're everywhere. They can find you. And then you've already teased a couple episodes. And any others you can tease out for us, or like what people can look forward to that you're excited to talk about? Like, now that you've been doing it a little bit, about 20 episodes, where's your brain going? Like,
my brain is going towards people who will give you that gee whiz kind of interview where like Jennifer Lewis, sure, she's an entertainer. Sure, she was on Blackish on ABC for 8 years, but it's her story of survival, not only growing up in St. Louis and being poor and what she endured, but her recent accident in Africa, which is leading her to another book. And it's like, wow. And Dr. Ian Smith, who is a health fitness author, guru. He's a nationally known person, was on Oprah. He was on President Obama's, I guess, the thing for fitness, whatever you call it. But he's turned out to be one of my dearest friends. And I can text him. I go, hey, Dr. Ian, you want to be on my... He's dynamic and amazing. He's helped so many people transform their lives. I love him. Alan Hunter was just great from MTV days.
MTV, yeah. Listen to that one this morning.
That's why, I was on the radio in the 80s. I was spinning Duran Duran and I'm not talking about, I'm talking spinning records, the vinyl.
Right. Not queue up on a screen.
No, I was doing the real DJing stuff overnight. And I auditioned to be the news person on MTV, and I lost out to Kurt Loder, which I thought was hilarious. And he just, I think, retired recently. So my goal is to get more famous names. I want to get John Goodman, because I love him on The Righteous Gemstones, of course.
Yep.
I'd love to get Jenna Fisher from The Office. I want to get actor Lake Bell, who is a great actor. She's an activist. She because I come from also the world of voiceover. She starred in a movie and produced it called In a World, where her dad was this big ballsy voice movie trailer guy. In a World. And her dad couldn't do it, so she was trying to be the female version of that. She wrote it and produced it. Great movie if you ever want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But she also wrote a book called Inside Voice, My Fascination with the Human Voice. And she talks about how dialects and accents and inflections have come into the daily vernacular. Like if you talk to young people at a corporation now, they talk like this, and they have stuff like vocal fry thing. And she breaks it all down, and she narrates the book. And if you listen to books as I do while I'm riding my bike or walking my dog or whatever, that is a fascinating book. And I'm dying to get her on, but it's hard to crack this Hollywood nut sometimes.
Yeah, I know. We understand. We've been lucky enough to have some bigger stars on the show. We had Sean Gunn on the podcast.
Nice.
From he's in the Marvel universe, and so of course that was a dream come true. St. Louis guy, but I've also been turned down by James Gunn's publicist for 3 years. Just he doesn't have the
keep
time.
trying.
That's what it is. You just keep going. Eventually, it's like an opportunity.
You know who I almost had on the hook? Almost, and I'm trying again.
Who?
And I'm going to come. Henry Winkler.
Oh wow.
The Fonz.
Oh yeah.
Because he wrote the book. I'm Henry Winkler. He was in that one series Barry on HBO with
love Barry.
Bill Hader. Oh my gosh, Dr. Gene Cousineau. His character was amazing. So they're like, well, let me check. He doesn't do podcasts, is what I got. But that was like last fall.
Yeah, you just keep going.
But I'm gonna keep trying and bugging him. She sort of got snippy with me, but I don't care.
Well,
I've been shut out by meaner people than that.
Well, I appreciate you sharing like your dream list too, because
Yeah.
once you get into this, that's kind of what it becomes too. Is like, who would I want to talk to for a while?
But it doesn't necessarily mean they don't have to be super well-known people.
Oh, I agree.
It's basically interesting conversations with interesting people. There's a guy out of Seattle named Sailing Sam or Sailing Sunset, I follow him on Instagram. It's this young guy who taught history in middle school in Seattle and decided, you know what, I'm ditching it and I'm going to sail across the Pacific and go to Fiji or wherever. So he got Starlink satellites and he was recording stuff about how a sail ripped and how he sleeps at night. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get him on. He's amazing, adorable. Just so, what a cool story.
Yeah.
And he said, well, my Starlink is down now. Check back with me. So that's another one on my list.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad to, throw kudos out to one of the biggest podcasters of all time, Joe Rogan.
Right.
And that was the whole philosophy. And he has really stayed true to that philosophy so hard to where I'm just going to talk to somebody I want to talk to. He does it like 4 days a week still. I don't understand how
See, that's a regular job, and that's something I do not want.
No, but the key, I think, there is the consistency of just reaching out to people that you want to talk to. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a big name. It can be an everyday person.
Somebody who's just got an amazing story.
And willing to share it, and people, I think, really enjoy it. Hopefully they're enjoying this one right now.
Yeah, I hope so, too.
Okay, I have a couple. This is where we're professional fans on the show, so I'm going to have you fan out about a couple things.
Alrighty.
First of all, you got a little tidbit. Hey, what's the hashtag you used to do? Naughton Nuggets.
Naughton's Nuggets.
Naughton's
when
Nuggets.
I announced my retirement, I decided to put together a bunch of Naughton Nuggets, hashtag Naughton Nuggets, that people did not know about me. Like, one of them was that I was a finalist in the high school cover girl modeling contest in 1979. I was one of 10 finalists out of 13,000 entries. I went to New York City, rode on my first plane, stayed in the Waldorf. I didn't win, but I was in magazines, and CoverGirl took all these, and they're like, really? And then another one was I was a model in my late, like 19 to 22, and I did a little bit of modeling in Toronto, some in New York. I was not quite tall enough. I'm 5'7", and I'm too curvy, for a lack of a better term. Back in those days, they wanted skinny twiggies, but now it's like plus size, whatever. But I was too curvy at the time. So another one is that I am married still to Brian Elkers, my dear husband of almost 37 years. I met him when he was playing for the Cleveland Indians, left-handed pitcher. I hear everybody looking up his ERA stats and everything. He blew out his knee, had to leave, blah, blah, blah. My brother blames me for ruining his arm. But he was mistaken all the time for Keith Hernandez. All the time.
I see it. Yeah, great visuals up as usual. I can see it.
I swear. I mean, does he not look like Keith Hernandez?
Yeah, that's it. And we have a few pictures here. And MLB pitcher, man. Like, that's I bet that was I bet he's got stories as well from his time.
He does. And the funny thing is, his buddies are all still huge baseball fans. And did you see so-and-so's ERA? He doesn't follow it one bit. He watches maybe during the playoffs, and he tells stories about how Reggie Jackson never got a hit off of him. I'm like, what? Reggie Jackson never hit him. Like, he faced him like 6 times or something. And Mr. October didn't hit him. And then another one, how he met all these, Phil Necro, and he didn't know who they were. And the other guys were flipping out. Like, he's like, okay.
You could have him as a guest on your show.
He's really matter of fact about it. But then we looked it up, and there are only about 18,000 people total who have ever made it to the major leagues.
No, I did not know.
Dude, that is huge.
Yep.
And he still gets cards sent to him. Like, that one is from when he was on the Cleveland Indians. He still sits down and autographs at collectors, which I think is adorable,
And you're actually the bigger fan. You're looking for the baseball game. I think usually,
Oh, that's what I
right?
do every night.
Yeah, you're
I
watching the
watch
Cards?
baseball, Cardinals. I watch whatever different game. Do not even talk to me during NFL season, though.
And it's happening. This is it. I just came out of like 7 years retired. I'm finally doing fantasy football again with my friends who were like, you got to be in it this time. So I'm going to be watching this year too, along with you. You're a Buffalo Bills fan from
Huge.
New York.
Yes, I was born in Western New York, born in Niagara Falls, which is literally a 20-minute drive from Buffalo. I'm a huge Buffalo Bills fan. Grew up with Jack Kemp and Joe Ferguson as the quarterbacks back in the day. And, my favorite player of all time was Bobby Chandler, who was a really great receiver who sadly died of cancer. I think maybe because I was 17 and he was cute. I don't know what I was talking about. But I come from a huge family, and my dad kind of instilled this love of sports in me. We'd watch basketball on Saturdays, college basketball. And I really loved watching sports with my dad. And then I played a little bit in high school, volleyball, basketball, track, tennis, and softball. But then when I was a young girl, probably 10 or 11, the Buffalo News at the time, they would have these full-page, hand-drawn posters of each player. And my dad never went in my bedroom with my sisters. So one day he comes in my bedroom to yell at us to clean it up or something. Then he walks in, and I had the entire team lined up, offense, defense, of these posters on my wall. He goes, "What the heck is that?" I go, "Oh, that's Joe DeLamelure. That's Reggie Ferguson, or not Reggie Ferguson, Reggie, I can't remember his name.
Don't ask me. I won't know.
Kent Hull, all of these old timers." And he's like, "Did you do that?" I go, "Yeah, Dad, so-and-so's going to play on there." And then I just got hooked on sports. And to this day, I'm a huge Buffalo Bills fan. And, I know this is Chiefs country. And
now, I was saying, what's your take on football in St. Louis after everything that's gone down? What's your take?
I'm still pissed.
Yeah.
My husband's still a Rams fan, and I'm like, screw those guys.
Yeah.
They to me personally, the executives of the team sat in front of me on TV and lied to my face, lied to our viewers, and I don't go to Walmart because of it.
Oh, wow.
I swear to God.
Wow.
Because Kroenke's associate. Isn't that weird?
No. It's whenever you know a little bit more, like those things will affect you. You think about it. You think,
I'm still pissed.
I knew one of the, I won't say any names. I knew one of the lawyers that got working on that case adjacently, and just hearing about it, thinking it was going to go a certain way, and then how it all played out, it was like, okay, wow. It's just one of those things where it's like as ugly as you can imagine, and that's what happened.
Yeah,
the ugly thing
am I allowed
happened.
to swear?
Absolutely.
And when they did final on this air quotes settlement, St. Louis still got bitch slapped.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get enough money at all. Not even close to enough money for what this city has suffered. And now they're talking about all these renovations to the dome that have to be done. And it's like, okay, you can't get your kids to school on buses in St. Louis. How are you going to renovate the dome for a once-a-week game?
Empty promise.
Yeah.
And like did all the work with that stadium plan and all that. Like it's just
it's
hard to think about.
I did stories, Logan, when they were building the dome. I got pictures of me in hard hats at the dome while they were building it when I covered sports. But so football's my jam, and it's like, do not call me during the game. Do not ask me anywhere. I do have NFL Sunday Ticket where I can record it, but I prefer to watch it live.
Are you doing any fantasy football? You ever do that?
I did it like right when fantasy football came out, like in the early to mid 90s. And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I go, I'll take this team and I'll take that. And I never did anything with it. No trades. It's certainly not as complex as it is now. And I even told my husband, I go, maybe I'll get back into fantasy football, but I think it's probably too late. I don't know what I'm doing.
It is easier. It's easier than ever now.
Yeah.
I mean, you think that just, no offense to football fans out there, but do you think all of them are rocket scientists? I would say, no, you got the guys that are sitting at home watching TV, from their day at work, like they got to be able to work an app. So the apps are like so friendly. It's like, here's who you should pick. Don't forget to switch this player in this week. But I will say it adds a whole nother time take.
Oh, sure.
It takes like, you're looking at it almost every day because games are on Monday, Thursday, Sunday,
Thursday through Monday,
pretty much all week.
Well, the thing is too that there's the sports page in St. Louis is the local Buffalo Bills, and I'm like, I want to go and watch a game with all my Bills buds and wear my Bills gear and blah 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 blah. So I did, because in Orchard Park, Western New York, you saw Jason Kelsey last year. That is how it is every game. Everyone is nuts, screaming, having a ball. It's just a good time. I went to this sports bar to watch the Bills, and they were all on their apps, working on their iPads. And I'm like, this is no fun.
Become just like a money maker. Like, I got to win this league.
Who's screaming? Nobody's screaming. Nobody's pacing. Nobody's throwing shit, which is what I do because I love it.
I've been telling friends lately, like, okay, I'm back into watching football. Like, I'm not like a huge sports head. I can get into it though. Like, we are professional fans. We can get into anything.
Right.
When my friends get into the Battlehawks, well, I'm kind of getting into it. I'll watch the game. And I've been saying, like, it's all about the food. It's about football type food and hanging out with friends and family. Like, like you said, you have the NFL channel, like where they have the red zone. I was like, you could put the red zone up where all the games are bouncing around.
Fun.
Like, that could be fun. Like, let's do that.
Yeah. So my husband's 2 favorite teams are the Rams and the Lions. And we were just looking at the schedule. I go, dude, Rams and the Lions are Sunday night, the very first game this year. And then, so there's that. And then the Bills. And then Monday night, of course, is going to be Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So.
There you go. That's your NFL take for you sports fans. And Randy, I'll give you a break to breathe and get a drink of water real quick while I thank some sponsors for today's episode. We got Team Jakey in the Stigma, mental health advocates, working here in St. Louis for about 11 years. They raise proceeds for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and Provident Behavioral Health here in St. Louis. Huge sponsor of the show for a couple years now. And are you familiar with the Gramophone?
Give me a Sando. What, are you kidding me?
This is one of our first all-time sponsors.
Oh, I love them.
They buy ads on the show. They help sponsor our big event every year. Courtney and the whole crew at the Gramophone in the Grove. Best sandwiches in the world, I always say.
In the world.
We got pretty cool ads on this podcast. I'll give us that. However, you might be like me when it comes to certain content, and I just don't want the ads. As little as $1.99 a month, you can get ad-free content from Mostly Superheroes. That's right. Patreon, Apple Podcast, Podbean. All of these channels offer ad-free versions of our episodes coming out early, including the patron pre-show, the show before the show. Open up Patreon, Apple Podcast, or Podbean, or go to mostlysuperheroes.com/support to learn more. Thank you for supporting your favorite independent podcasts. Mostly Superheroes Indie Podcast has a slate of upcoming titles, interviews, and topics ready for our listeners and fans, and you could reach our audiences. Professionally recorded ad, hear our voice, our crew record an ad in your style, and make your brand heard on Mostly Superheroes. Find out more at mostlysuperheroes.com/sponsor. All right. You want to nerd out one more time with me?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is a big one. Carrie's my partner. You guys are kindred spirits here. You love this hashtag that you've come up with that you use all the time.
Yeah.
Hashtag outdoors every day.
Yep.
And you love being outside. You like walking and being with nature. You have a lot of animals, and you sent me a lot of the pictures that you like to take. And I understand there's a calendar you put together for people
every year.
Talk about your love for outdoors.
Well,
where'd that start, and where's it at now?
You know what? I think it started growing up in Western New York when I lived in Niagara Falls, and then we moved literally to a house on Lake Ontario. Like, Lake Ontario was my backyard, town called Wilson, New York. And I could see Toronto from across the lake. I'd wake up and get my cereal, and it's like, oh, Toronto's looking good today. So it's just seeing the water and smelling the air and seeing the snow. Now, I'm one of these people. I love snow. Get me out in any weather. I love it, love it, love it. Beautiful to photograph in. It's just, I don't know where it came from, but I try to make a point of getting outdoors every day. And if I see something to photograph, I snap it. So I see some of the photos you see, like I saw a deer poking his head out of a soybean field. And I saw this one crane or heron just hanging out on a log, and the sunflowers in the middle of the screen. I swear to God, it looks like a surprised face, does it not?
Yes.
And then my husband was bitching about the deers eating our flowers, and I looked outside, and I'm like, oh, there's a baby eating the daisies. It makes a great photo, and I'm a huge bird nerd, and anytime I see a bald eagle, it takes my breath away. And I get that anytime.
That call of the wild, as they say.
I love it.
I get that movie. Like, that's what it's all about. It's like that call of nature,
And then I try to pick out my favorite photos throughout the year. And I put together a photo calendar. And I've been doing this for 10-something years now. And I handed them out at work for Christmas gifts and send them to my family in New York and just send them out. It's just, I just love to take photos. The one in the middle here, Can you guess what that is?
Is it ice?
Yes, it's the dog's frozen water bowl.
I was going to say either that or a bird bath.
And I made a sculpture out of it.
And I understand you own horses?
I own one this little dude right here.
Are these miniature?
I own one mini. My daughter's a longtime equestrian, and
Oh.
she owns a quarter horse. And then when I went to my retirement trip to me was a trip to Finland with my sister to see the Northern Lights. So she calls me in the middle of the night, and she was at a livestock auction with her friends. Mom, there's this little tiny horse, and he's skinny, and he's got an infected eye, and blah, blah, blah. I said, buy him. I'm in a glass igloo in the middle of Finland. And she goes, and I go, buy him. Really? I go, take him home. So I went home and I said, honey, I bought a horse. He goes, you bought a horse in Finland? No. So anyway, he's literally only got one eye because he was neglected and starved. And I nursed him back to health. I named him Uno for one eye. And he's the sweetest boy ever. I just saved him. So he's my buddy.
Way to go. Yeah, I'll give it up. We'll give it up for.
Yay!
What's the name again?
Uno.
Yep.
One eye.
Very nice. Yeah. Carrie was fanning out about all your pictures here. She loves animals. She rode horses as a kid.
Nice.
And, yeah.
Well, you guys might need to come out and visit Uno and my daughter's horsey Duke.
That would be a dream.
Yeah.
That would be an absolute dream. And we might need to get your calendar in here too. We need a new calendar for the studio.
I'm eyeballing photos from the last year as we speak.
Like this is it, right? You like before the new year starts, I assume. That's the calendar.
I start compiling some of my favorites. I look back, from January. I go, oh, I like that one. Then I put them in a folder, and I go, no, I don't like that one. The resolution sucks. It's backlit, and then I kind of process of elimination. So,
all right,
it's fun.
How about we'll end with a little bit more work you're doing. You
Yeah.
know, you got the podcast. You're pretty much a freelancer out here doing your thing, right?
I am.
And you got voiceover work. You do
Yes.
MC events. I saw too. But maybe just talk about what the freelance work you're doing and what you're looking for.
Well,
and
voiceover. Well, hosting.
what you do.
Well, I host a lot of charity events. Like I have one coming up in the end of September for equine assisted therapy, which is a great program here in St. Louis to help, underserved, disabled, mentally challenged people get on horses. And the power of horses is amazing. So I host their fundraiser every year. Going to do that. And as far as voiceover goes, I've been on the radio since the early 80s, and I've been doing commercials. So I have, if you go to my website, randinaughton.com, you can hear all my demos, which, by the way, I'm going to be updating. And I do everything from your phone system to a commercial to accents to web tutorials, those awful things you got to click through at work. On the next panel, do this. Click next. Sometimes that's my voice. I was coming here and I just realized I won a commercial.
Congrats.
I just recorded something yesterday at Clayton Studios for a nationwide commercial in Canada. It's about some meal service for seniors.
That's
stuff
great
like that.
though. You get say words well. You have a professional, voice artist
Well,
at that point.
Yeah, I am. That's what I'm a voiceover artist, and so if you want me to do your commercials, your narration, your phone system, whatever, give me a buzz. Jump on my website.
Maybe like a presentation or an award show.
I do it all. Yeah,
yeah.
I do it all. The award shows. Yeah, and you know what the best part is? I'm down in my studio in my house in my jammies with no dang makeup at 6 a.m, and I don't have to worry about what it looks like. You just have to hear me.
You're in that world now, Randy. You're working for yourself and doing the few things that you've done like for your whole career, but now for yourself.
I'm a troll in my own basement.
Look where you're at. I got you to come to my basement.
I love it.
We understand.
I love it
more than most. All right. Well, we're approaching the end of our time. We've taken plenty of your time.
No,
today.
I don't want to.
You having fun in here?
I'm having a ball.
You know the podcast is called Mostly Superheroes.
Right.
So like most, you had some anticipation that it might just be superhero focused.
Right.
Or nerd. So what else do you nerd out about that might fall in the realm of a Mostly Superheroes podcast? Did you have something in your back pocket? We talked about the nerdy stuff you're into.
We did. Me and my nature stuff, and then photography, and my voiceover, and of course my animals and my sports. But I just love science. I wish I paid more attention in school. I wasn't a great student, but I managed, and I ended up getting a pretty good career out of it. So there's really nothing. And as far as superheroes goes, you're right, Logan. I was intimidated. I'm like, I don't know anything about Marvel, and I don't know anything about this, that, or the other. So I watched Deadpool, all 3 of them, prior to coming here.
For this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's hear it. What did you think of Deadpool?
Well, I love Ryan Reynolds just because he's just so stupid and goofy. And I watch his documentary series, Welcome to Wrexham, which is, I believe, on Hulu. Great thing about his soccer team, football team in England. And and he's just as goofy in that. But my husband goes, "Oh, and he's a movie guy. He doesn't watch sports. I watch sports. He watches movies. You got to watch it. You'll love it." So I watched it. I'm like, okay, that was funny. That was good. I like I was not anticipating all the blood.
Yes.
But then I said, I'll watch the other one. And then I actually went to a theater and watched the third one, which was fantastic.
You saw Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yes,
I'll give
did.
it up for you. We just did a whole episode about that. It was 2 hours long. We had guests from all over the country come in.
Oh, it was great.
And we fanned out.
Well, I mean, it's saying something because it's hit, what, $1 billion mark now for an R-rated film. And, you know, I will say, and this is blasphemous, especially sitting here.
No.
I've still never seen Star Wars in its entirety.
That's okay.
I saw maybe a little snippet here and stuff like that, but I've never seen the whole film.
Well, in this country, in the world, but in this country, fandom is so great because it just means that there's a group of people into this. There's a group of people into this.
Right.
And that's why your podcast will work, because you'll have enough fans that know Randy and the guests that you're having on that are into Randy, like these Randy diehard fans. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
At least St. Louis and beyond, anywhere you've worked, you know.
Well, that's the thing.
So like Star Wars fans come out of the woodwork because they're into that.
Yes.
You know?
There's familiarity and I'm getting extra, I guess, fans from different parts of the country. And it's like, okay, well, why wouldn't I kind of jump on the notion that, you know, I'm kind of known in this area. And no matter what I'm looking like, saying, "Aren't you that lady?" Yeah, that's me. Still, my husband said that is always going to happen, and I'm fine with it.
Take care of those fans, okay? Do you do
always.
Do you do like a patron show or a patron thing yet for your podcast? We got to get you some patrons.
Logan, I don't even know what that means.
That means you give, people that give you a little money because they love Randy so much, they get a little something extra. On this podcast, they basically get a second podcast.
Well, how do I pimp for that? What do I do? Because I'm still learning about this podcast stuff.
Let's talk. We won't give all the trade secrets to everybody else. Me and you will figure it out. We will help you figure it out.
Okay, thank you. I would appreciate that because, again, I'm a one-man band. I'm just learning it. Everyone did it all for me at work, and it's now like, okay, I got to figure out how to do this now. So I'm learning, and I like it.
Well, I got to say, it's been really surreal having you here with me. Like, totally surreal.
You're too sweet.
Like, watching you on the news and having you here in person, it's still very surreal, very out of body. So thank you so much
for
taking a chance on us and coming in. Really
dude, it was my pleasure. What a fun spot to be in. And, I might be ringing you up to ask you for some advice on what some of this stuff means.
Yeah, we could nerd out about podcasts all day. And I always say the first time I have a guest on, it's just like this. I want our listeners to get to know you. So this is like them people that might not have known you, got to know you today, but to have you come back and nerd out about something a little bit deeper, maybe talk about one movie.
I'm down.
Something
I'm
about
down.
Would you want to come back?
Absolutely.
Cool. I got it on air. We do that too to make sure we record it.
I heard it. I'm a woman of my word. I'll do that.
Randi Naughton, 40 years in broadcast journalism. You know her from Fox 2. Now you know her from More to Say with Randi Naughton. We will see you next time, Randy.
Yes,
thank you.
Logan. Thank you.
That's it.
That was freaking fun.
Mostly Superheroes is proud to be funded in part by our sponsors. Mostly Superheroes is funded in part by paying patrons who receive early, ad-free, and exclusive episodes. Subscribe at mostlysuperheroes.com/support. Thank you for supporting your favorite independent podcast. Mostly Superheroes is an independent podcast owned and operated by Kerrigan Ventures in St. Louis, Missouri. Hosted by Logan Janis, Andy Hunn, and Scott Swearingen. Brand and creative by Carrie Clark Design. Music by Audionautics. Learn more at audionautics.com. Find more at mostlysuperheroes.com.